Okay, am I live? Just kidding. That's an inside joke. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Americano Update. My name is Andres Chang, and I am coming to you live from Davao in the Philippines. It is Sunday, 30 January, the last Sunday of January. It is after 4 p.m. Local time, it is after midnight in the morning in California, and $1 will give you 51 pesos. And let's get to the news. Okay, update on Typhoon Odette and Typhoon Rai. CNN Philippines recently did a story. We got the graphic up there for you, and we will put a link to this video in the description. Please watch it. And the most important takeaway is that they still need help. They need everything. The affected areas of Typhoon Odette, also known as Typhoon Rai, are still recovering. They still need power, water, communications, donations to the Philippines Red Cross, volunteers, supplies. I'm going to keep on this story, and please, if you're in the Philippines, please go there. Money's good, but please go there and see what you do, see what you can do. There are a lot of wealthy Filipinos who can themselves drive to the affected areas, fly into the affected areas. And if there are a lot of Filipinos all over the world, if the Philippines diaspora, if you can please help out, the people in the affected areas still need help. It has not. Typhoon Odette hit over a month ago. I think it was over a month ago, and at the end of February, it will be over 2 months. So we're at the end of January. So please help out. Okay. Again, please help out with the people who have been affected by Typhoon Odette, also known as Typhoon Rai. You can donate money to the Philippines Red Cross. You can volunteer and actually go there. Please, you can contact me. Maybe we can organize a relief mission. Filipina P, a local YouTuber, Commander Doubt, another local YouTuber, have also organized their own relief missions. Supplies are needed, power is needed, water is needed, communications are needed. So please, this story is not going away. It's still there. This is still a story. Please help the people who have been affected by Odette, also known as Rai. All right. Before I get too repetitive, let's go on to the next story. So next, well, just before I go on to the next story, sorry about last week. I wanted to do a show last week, but we were unable to. Brand new channel. Please help us out. You know, your shares and your likes and subscribes and your comments and your bell notifications help us hit that magic number 1,000. That really helps us out. Please. Thank you very much. All right. So let's continue with the news. The famous Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, we have his graphic up there. He passed away recently, last week, some days ago. And I wanted to say that he wasn't just a monk. He spoke out against the war in Vietnam when it was going on. He was a friend to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who nominated him. Dr. King nominated Thich Nhat Hanh for the Nobel Peace Prize for, among other things, speaking out against the Vietnam War. he was not just a monk. He spoke out against war. He was pro-peace. He spoke out against economic inequality, against poverty. He spoke out against climate change. And if you go back to my channel, you'll see I did 3 talks with Talk Life channel about minimalism and Thich Nhat Hanh, excuse me, like all Buddhist monks and nuns and Catholic monks and nuns and priests practiced minimalism. Specifically, they did not have a lot of material things. They lived a life of poverty. They did that intentionally. And minimalism and especially embracing this kind of life, and to be a minimalist, you do not have to go full Buddhist monk or nun, or full Catholic priest or nun or monk. But what all of these things have in common is a rejection of the world that we are currently living in, specifically a rejection of material things. To an extent, we all need money, we all need food, we all need clothing, we all need shelter, but it's a rejection of consumerism. And by extension, a rejection of capitalism. And if that sounds too extreme, it's a rejection of this need that so many of us have, because it's pushed on us by the media and the government and larger forces we cannot control, by corporations, that we need to buy things and we need to have things and we need to own things, and we just don't need to. And that is not just a personal choice and a personal lifestyle. As Thich Nhat Hanh showed by example, it leads to larger things. First you start with yourself. First you realize, I don't need all of these material things. And then you take that, make that broader, and you say, the world does not need to chase money, status, career, power, sex. We don't need all of these things. We need to, as somebody else said, live simply so that others can simply live. And Thich Nhat Hanh was an important voice. He will be missed by a lot of people. I personally did not follow him very much, but I knew of him. I knew little of him. And he was not just a monk, like Mother Teresa was not just a nun. And we can talk about the differences, but Dr. King was not just an ordained pastor, a minister. Malcolm X was not just a religious person. Gandhi was not just a political figure. He was a deeply religious person. Karl Marx famously said that religion is the opiate of the masses. And yes, for a lot of people, religion is a way to escape. But for others, like Thich Nhat Hanh, religion motivated people, can motivate you to make the world a better place. And that's part of why I'm doing this channel, and that's why I want this channel to grow. I hope I can contribute positively to the world with this channel, with your help, my viewers. And maybe this won't be enough. We'll have to move on to activism. I will have to move on to activism, not just talking. I'm a good talker, but the world needs more than talk. It needs people like Thich Nhat Hanh, like the activists, other activists who I won't name because I'm talking about Thich Nhat Hanh right now. But if you're not a YouTuber and you want to do some good in the world, what's up, Alvin? Hello. And you want to make a difference in the world, then you can do something. Go to a protest, go to a march, like the previous story. Go help out the people who have been affected by Odette. And I wonder, Alvin, man, do I know you in real life? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Thank you so much, Alvin. All right, let's go on to the next story. Bitcoin, baby. Bitcoin crashed. Oh no! How can Bitcoin crash? Bitcoin was perfect, wasn't it? I mean, it was the future. It was deregulated. Now, this was almost a week ago. Some changes. Bitcoin, I think, is climbing back. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Nobody can predict the future. Maybe Bitcoin is the real deal, you know, but it did crash. Okay, dude, how could Bitcoin have crashed? Dude, I shouldn't say that. I love to do voices, but I don't want to disrespect the people who sincerely believed in Bitcoin, and I really don't want to disrespect anybody who put their money into Bitcoin and then lost money. That's a really bad. That's very bad for them. We all need money. I'm a minimalist. I need money too. Like I said, you can check out on my channel. You can check out the 3 talks I did on minimalism on Talk Life channel. Full disclosure, I do want to be rich and famous, but the reason why I want to be rich is because I don't want to worry about money. And the reason why I want to be famous is because I want to do good. People listen to rich and famous people, you know, and I want to do good. I want to talk about Odette. I want to talk about what I'm talking about now, Bitcoin, because there's a much larger issue going on here with Bitcoin. So Elizabeth Warren, 6 months ago, and we'll put a link to this video in the description. 6 months ago, she cautioned about Bitcoin. She said that at the very least, we're not sure. You can click on the video, click on the link of the description. You will see that she did caution about Bitcoin. She didn't say don't buy Bitcoin. She didn't say buy Bitcoin, but she did caution. You know, this is brand new. We're not sure what's happening. You can't be sure with anything that's brand new. This channel is brand new. Hopefully it'll explode. Maybe it'll crash and burn. We'll see. But we're not sure. But more importantly, there's the question of regulation. You see, the Bitcoin advocates, they were all saying, this is what we need. We need unregulated currency. And the libertarians will tell you we need to basically unregulate everything. And that's just nonsense. And we'll put another link to this video where Elizabeth Warren discusses why regulation is necessary. There's the graphic we have. So we have the previous video. We'll link to that in the description. We'll link to this video that's on screen right now on the description. And I'll just briefly summarize. Basically, in America, the banks failed every 15 years. And then after the Great Depression, around 1935, we put in the Glass-Steagall Act, and we put in other regulations, and none of the banks failed until 1980. So for 45 years, no market crash, no bank failure in the United States. And then in the 1980s, what happened? Ronald Reagan, deregulation. Yeah, baby. And then what happened? Crash, the Reagan recession. And then less than 20 years after that, what happened? The dot-com crash. And then 6 or 7 years after that, what happened? The real estate crash. And then, if we go from 2008, well, it's been 13 years. Is this the crash? Is the Bitcoin crash the harbinger of the next crash? Another crash should be happening. But the market doesn't need regulation. Yes, it does. And Elizabeth Warren points this out. She's a Harvard economist. These Bitcoin advocates, who were they? You see them all the time in the YouTube comments, of random videos, even when they're not talking at all about finance. Somebody comments, "Oh, you should put money into Bitcoin." I know this one girl, she knows who I'm talking about. I won't say your name, but she said her boyfriend lost or got $100 on Bitcoin, something. Anyway, the point is, we need regulation. This is not a game. These are people's lives we're talking about. When people lose money, that affects their lives. There's a great scene in the movie The Big Short where Brad Pitt says that every time the unemployment goes up, something like the number of suicides go up, something like that. So look, we are talking about people's lives, okay? And now, speaking of The Big Short, here's what I think happened. Now, this is just opinion. Here's what I think happened. I'll bet you somebody saw this coming. I'll bet you they didn't know when. They didn't know that Bitcoin was going to crash on the day that they did. But I'll bet you somebody said, you know what? Bitcoin is going to crash. And they probably made some hedges or some bets against Bitcoin. And now they won those bets, and now they're probably making a lot of money. That's what happened in the movie The Big Short. These investors, they realized there is a real estate bubble, and they bet against it. And of course, all these people took those bets because they thought real estate never crashes. I remember, when I was a teenager in the 90s. I was 13 in 1990, so the 90s were my teens. Everybody was saying, or a lot of people were saying, real estate is guaranteed. You buy a house, of course it's going to rise in value. Real estate, the thing that supposedly could never ever crash, it crashed. And a few people saw it coming. So this can be seen. And we need to regulate the market, not control it completely. We have to give it some freedom. We have to give it some regulation too. I remember I was in a college class, and this was the big defense of capitalism. I was in college, and a classmate of mine in a class said, in capitalism, there's a risk. That's a defense of capitalism? That it's risky? Something risky is good? Good equals risky? Risky equals good? When people lose their jobs, I mean, every job you have is no guarantee. You could get fired, or the company could lose money and you could get laid off, or the company could lose all of its money and everybody gets laid off. Or if you work at a restaurant and there's a kitchen fire, and then you can't work and therefore can't get paid until the kitchen is repaired. Or here's a crazy idea. What if a pandemic happens and you can't work? How do you pay your bills? The risk is your life. We're talking about people's lives here. When you lose money, you cannot feed yourself, you cannot feed your children, you can starve to death. Or what if you can't pay your medical bills? That's actually another story we're going to talk about. If you can't pay your medical bills and you cannot pay your medication, what happens? What if you die because you cannot pay your medical bills or you cannot pay your for your prescription medication? Okay, you die. So we are talking about people's lives. All right. So that's the takeaway from the Bitcoin crash is the same takeaway. It's really frustrating from every crash and every conversation I have about economics with people is that the economy needs to be regulated. There needs to be regulations. Okay. And these crashes prove it. People lose when the stock market crashes. People lose their retirement savings. They lose their homes. They lose their jobs, and that can have real consequences. Okay, that can have real consequences. Sometimes people turn to crime. They got to feed themselves and their children. They got to. There was this one guy. This is the last thing I'll say, and then we'll move on to the next story. I knew this one guy. It was so frustrating. I would say the stock market is gambling. He would say, no, it isn't. Really? I forget your name, but I hope you're watching, because if you're watching, I want to ask you, did you know that Bitcoin would crash when it did, on the day that it did? Because if you didn't know that, it is gambling. His argument was, if you invest in the stock market over time, you'll make money. Yeah. What if you decide to take out your money on Tuesday, but on Monday the market crashes? What do you do then? My father lost a lot of money. I remember it was in the 80s. It was Black Monday. I think he lost his job after that. It was really bad. I remember I came home from school, and this was in California years ago in the 80s. And my father was in the living room talking with this woman who I'd never met before, who coincidentally was a Filipina. And she was really mad, and she was swearing. And if I was telling this story outside of this news broadcast, people might be thinking, oh, that's your father's mistress. No, it wasn't. It was not my father's mistress. For the record, my father never cheated on my mother, to my knowledge. Dad, are you watching this? Mom, are you watching this? What happened was my father and this woman and at least one other person, they were in some kind of business deal that involved the stock market. It was Black Monday. They lost a lot of money. Enough money that this woman was talking to my father and was swearing, and she was really upset because she lost money. She was swearing in front of little children even. It's a funny story, but I shouldn't laugh. So let's remember the takeaway. The market needs to be regulated. Crypto, we'll see what happens in the future, but right now it's not looking like Bitcoin or crypto is the magic bullet. What's up, Angeli Jinko? Who started the Bitcoin system anyway? Oh, right. I don't know the name, but there was a guy. I don't know. I think it was one. This was a white male. I don't know if he was an American, but I think he started Bitcoin. And then there are these other cryptocurrencies that have come out, and I don't know who started them either. Ether or Ether is another cryptocurrency, and there are these other cryptocurrencies, but they need to be regulated. So, Angeli Jinko, thank you so much for watching. So now let's go on to the next story. All right, so the next story, my man, Chris Hedges, his latest column on Scheerpost and his first column of the year. I was going to do the story last week, but I couldn't do the show. So we'll put a link in the we'll link to this in the description. Chris Hedges, my favorite writer. Chris Hedges is the man. His column, America's New Class War. Please read it. Good stuff as always from Chris Hedges. You know, this is part of the, I won't say much because you should really read the column, but this is part of the wave of strikes that are happening in the US right now. Not just strikes, but people are not going back to work. People are quitting. And hopefully we are in already, I think I said this before, we are already in a small but disorganized, organic, natural, uncoordinated general strike. And people are just saying enough. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of working so much and I'm being away from my family, my children, and I still don't have enough money. I'd rather be poor with my family and have more time with my family than be poor and working and have no time with my family. So hopefully America is going to get its act together. At the very least, we've got to have healthcare for everybody. We really do. We need health insurance for everybody. Everybody already has health insurance in Canada and Europe and Japan. I just, you know, I was a few years ago, I was in Taiwan and I was talking about this healthcare issue, and somebody in the audience says, "Oh, I'm a Trump supporter. I disagreed with everything you said. It's not true. There's no healthcare in America. There's no public healthcare in America. The private sector provides healthcare." Yeah. The private sector does provide healthcare, but the result is that Americans don't have healthcare. They don't have health insurance because it's too expensive. So then the result is they don't have healthcare. They don't see a doctor. They don't buy their medicine. We're going to come to a story about that later in this video. So hopefully all of us are realizing the economy is not working. In America, we'll all realize the economy is not working. We need to fix the economy so that it works for all of us, you know? Anjali Jinko says, our parents can provide houses and purchase big lands and survive. I think the future generation cannot do this for some reason. Well, yeah, Gigi, Gigi, that's what I'm talking about is that, Angelina, excuse me, Anjali, that's what I'm talking about is that, well, first let's talk about the Philippines and let's talk about the United States. In the United States, I just mentioned in the previous story, oh no, did I say first Philippines or first the United States? Whatever, I'm talking about the United States right now. Then I'll talk about the Philippines. In the previous story, I was talking about how from the Great Depression, from about 1935 to 1980, the banks didn't crash. And not only did the banks not crash, but the middle class grew. It was a time when in the United States, basically, a lot of people in the United States look at the 1950s as, oh, that's the best time. Well, not if you were a woman and not if you were Black, but the top tax bracket was 90%. The people at the top, the 1%, they paid 90% in taxes. The government had all this money. And with this money, you could drop out of high school, you can go get a job at a factory, buy a car and a house, go on a vacation every 2 years. And your kids could go to college. You could pay for your kids to go to college, and your kids could do your kids could do better. Then we started deregulating, and along with the deregulating that happened in the 80s, that's when the middle class started to go away in America. I'm always telling people, I live here in the Philippines. I'm always telling people in the Philippines, don't go to America. That's not the land of opportunity. If you're going to be a OFW, overseas foreign worker, that's what we call them here in the Philippines, go somewhere else. Okay, so what's wrong with the Philippines? Well, with the Philippines, it's always been this way. With many poor countries, including the country I was born in, Guatemala, there's a lot of, I don't know what the correct term is, but there are three terms: third world, developing, or poor. So third world country or developing country or a poor country, like the Philippines, like Guatemala. There's just so much corruption, and there's just so little opportunity. Yes, some people are able to buy land, pass it on to their kids, but that's not the case for the majority of Filipinos, which is why so many Filipinos leave to go find work. That's why so many Guatemalans leave, because they need to go find work. So that's the situation in the Philippines and the United States. So please check out this column by Chris Hedges. Read it. We'll link to it in the description. When I started this channel, I didn't know I would do this, but I'm just loading up the description with links because I think it's very important that people read and get their information, go find it. So yeah, go check this out. And now let's move on to the next story. Okay. So the next story is about Julian Assange. I think we're going to link three ladies and gentlemen. Three links to three different videos. Okay, that's 3 links is so powerful that you lost my image for a second there. Did you see that? Did that happen? That's how powerful it was. 3. You lost me for a second there. But again, there's my man. There's both of my men. There's Chris Hedges. There's another video that's Lee Camp. That is not Jesus Christ. That is Lee Camp. Do not be fooled by the thick, full beard and the long, flowing hair. No, that is Lee Camp. But the same guy is in both videos. That's John Pilger. John Pilger, and the other video is with George Galloway. That's George Galloway talking to Dr. Deepa Driver. And all these 3 videos, they're all talking about Julian Assange. And who is Julian Assange? So just to summarize the Julian Assange story, Julian Assange is an Australian citizen. He started WikiLeaks, which is based in Sweden, and he exposes secrets from all over the world. People send him secrets. He puts them on his site, and they're exposed. And one of the things that he exposed was U.S. soldiers in Iraq during the Iraq War opening fire on unarmed civilians. And when they did that, the British government arrested him. They put him in Belmarsh prison, and they broke him mentally and physically. He's lost a lot of weight. He's called the suicide hotline number. So they broke him, and they're trying to extradite him to the United States to stand trial, which makes no sense. He committed no crime. All he did was report something that was factual. Now, whoever gave him that information probably stole it. That's the crime. But giving it to him and him releasing that information, that's not a crime. And this is dangerous because they can come after all of us. The United States can come after all of us. WikiLeaks is not based in the United States. It's based in Sweden. Julian Assange is not a U.S. citizen. He's an Australian citizen. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world. America is going to get you, and they're going to get your mama if you make them angry. So I stand in full solidarity with Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. He should be let go. Never should have been in prison. But catch yourself up on those 3 videos. You'll get all the info that you need. There's an image of Julian Assange, very, very briefly. It's not there anymore. But the very important story for independent journalists. I'm a small YouTuber. I have a very small audience. But if they can go after someone bigger, like Julian Assange, they can go after everybody. And, one of the reasons I started this channel is because on Revolutionary Blackout, when they did the General Strike Summit, one of the points they made was that it's good for everybody to start a channel. I know everybody's got their own website, their own YouTube channel. How do you get followers? But the thing is, it's an act of resistance, because the more of us there are, the harder it is to get us. So if you're a truth teller, go start your YouTube channel. Invite me on to talk. Reach out to me. I'll invite you on to talk on this channel. And if you're not a talker, then go out there, and after you read Chris Hedges' column about the class warfare, go find where a strike is happening and go join them and go help them out. There's Julian Assange. We'll see what happens to him. They've already broken him mentally and physically. We know in one of the videos you'll see the United States wanted to kill him, but their smear the American smear campaign against Julian Assange was very effective. This is just I don't know how effective, but my impression is that it was. And this is just anecdotal because, again, I was in Taiwan and I was talking to this random English guy, 2 random English guys. One of them was English, I don't know if the other was English, but this was back years ago. I said, the US government issued an arrest warrant for Julian Assange. And the one English guy said, good. And then I said, what has he done that to justify getting arrested or punished or imprisoned? And the other person, there were 2 people, the other person said, he's so egotistical or something like that. And it's like, what? He's got an unpleasant personality. That's why he needs to go to jail. And the other English guy, so I don't know if that guy was English, but the guy who I know was English, he said, he said something completely irrelevant. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, my grandparent was in the war. And to the day they died, even when they didn't need to keep any secrets, they still kept the secrets. So he revealed secrets, and that's why he needs to go to jail. He's a journalist. That's what journalists do. That's what we do. We're supposed to reveal secrets. And this is very dangerous for democracy and for freedom all over the world, because if you tell the truth, the United States will get you. That is, if you tell the truth that they don't want you to tell. In the case of Julian Assange, that our soldiers in Iraq fired on unarmed civilians. So, they got Julian. They can get anybody. So let's move on to the next story. The next story, we go back once again to the man, Chris Hedges, the man. Again, my favorite writer. Again, so Chris Hedges, he doesn't know this, but he's actually my biological father. Him and my mom, they had this fling. Just kidding. But I wish. If my dad is watching, if my biological father is watching, good. Anyway, so there's Chris Hedges. He's talking to the Real News Network. He also talked to ACT TV. And I'll just say, if you want, there he is talking to ACT TV. If you want to know what's happening in America, in the world right now, like if you just want to catch up, get up to speed before you go on to other things, watch these two videos. And Chris Hedges, man, he will bring you up to speed. Chris Hedges, he's not very technical. Like in this interview with ACT TV, the lighting is very bad. It's worse than my lighting, which, whoa, you know that's bad. But yeah, check out both of these videos, and I won't say much. I think we can already go on to the next story. I'll just say that please watch these two videos, and it will catch you up onto everything that's going on right now in the U.S. and the world. Nice, good summary, and we'll link to everything in the description. We'll put links to these two videos in the description. Chris Hedges is the man. All right. Okay. So now we can move on to the next story. And for this next story, we are going old school, ladies and gentlemen. The man who started it all. Maybe not the man who started it all, but Ralph Nader. Again, going back to Scheerpost. Scheerpost, great website to get your news and your commentary. Not just videos, but lots of good reading material, including this one by Ralph Nader. 8 things NPR should do right now. NPR is National Public Radio, and it's in America, and it was supposed to be commercial-free and the alternative to the commercial news and the commercial media. And now it's not. It's getting funded not just by the government, but by the same corporations who are paying for advertisement on all the other media are now paying for NPR as well, and CPB, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which gives money to NPR, not only the radio, but to the TV, public broadcasting networks, and their corresponding websites. And we'll link to this article as well. Ralph Nader, just you might not know who he is. The younger people might not know who he is. Because of Ralph Nader, he's never held elected office, I don't think. But because of them, we're required to have seatbelts in the cars in the United States. Because of him, there's a lot of safety regulations. He's been a consumer advocate almost his entire life. He's actually the son of Lebanese or Libyan immigrants, I think, or the grandson. He speaks Arabic. But anyway, read this article. It also talks about the problems with the media in general. There's just too much money in the media, especially the news media. See, the news media should not be about making profit from advertisers. It should be about telling the truth and reporting the news. And that's why we need at least one radio network nationwide, TV network nationwide, with maybe the same. We need it. We should have. Here's my suggestion. let's have in America one TV network, which is the same as the radio network. So so everything that's on TV is the same on the corresponding radio stations, the corresponding TV stations, the corresponding podcasts, YouTube channels, etc., or as we say here in the Philippines, etc. That is nonprofit, completely nonprofit. So it's always funded, and it just tells the truth. That's what we need. All right. So check that out. We'll link to it in the description. Great stuff. Scheerpost, great website. Great stuff by Chris Hedges and Ralph Nader, and other good material on Scheerpost. All right. Let's move on to the next story. The next story. There he is again. Same guy that I mentioned before. Oh, that's the right video, but the wrong text. If we could change that. So that's Lee Camp on from Redacted tonight, and which is also on RT. Chris Hedges is also on RT. George Galloway is also on RT. There it is, Redacted tonight with Lee Camp. Project Censored. He talks about the most censored stories of 2021. Kind of like it's the end of January, but we're still wrapping up 2021. Kind of like a year in review for 2021. But these are censored stories. Stories that were not given, either censored because the media ignores them. When the media does not report something, it effectively is censoring. And one of the stories, I'll only mention one, I'll mention two. One of the stories that I alluded to earlier was that not taking your prescription drugs is going to be one of the leading causes of death in seniors in America, in senior citizens, premature death. Why? Because like I mentioned before, they can't afford their prescription medication. And again, this goes back to what I talked about before, how there's no health care in America, but there is in Canada and Europe and Japan. And I mentioned that before. It's so frustrating sometimes doing this channel because and just talking to people and reading the news and watching the news and getting in fights in the comments sections on YouTube videos because people just, it's just so obvious to me what the solution needs to be. You know, we need to give everyone health care and so many other things. But that's one of the stories on Project Censored. We'll link to this video. Lots of links because we love you all very much. And the other story was, which we also talked about and which I also talked about, is the labor strikes that are happening in America. These are some of the largest numbers of strikes that we've had in our country's history. Maybe not the largest number, but it's up there. So I hope we are in a revolutionary moment. Like I mentioned before, we are probably already in a organic, uncoordinated, disorganized general strike. With the strikes, people quitting, people not returning to work, even now that their boss says COVID's under control, you can come back to work. People are still not returning to work. So those covered. So much news today. It's overloading everything. You see, you lost me again for a second there. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I did. Anyway, so we'll link to this in the description. Please check it out. Very informative. RT is another, RT has something. RT has at least two people on there who should not be on any platform, in my opinion. I'm not saying censor them. I'm just saying that RT should deplatform them, and don't worry, they'll probably be okay. They'll probably find something else. All right, so let's move on to the next story. Again, Ralphie the Nader. Here in this story, another piece by Ralph Nader, also on Scheerpost, but this is different. Ralph Nader talks about the reporter Morton Mintz, who has had a long career exposing corruption. And Morton Mintz is 100 years old, still alive. I don't know if he retired, but terrific piece. Read about how Morton Mintz is an old school journalist who was just telling the truth, just reporting about corruption. And we need a lot more of that. We do not need celebrity gossip. There's plenty of that already. We need more reading. That's why that's why I try to find stuff for you, my viewers, not just to view but to read. So this is a terrific story about Morton Mintz and his long career in exposing corruption. Check it out. I won't say much, but it looks like somebody's life. One of the stories he covers talks about somebody's life getting in danger just because they're telling the truth. I won't spoil which story it was. It's not Julian Assange. It's a different reporter. It's an older story. But that's still happening. I mean, Julian Assange, his life is in danger. You know, he'll probably die if he'll go to a U.S. prison. The U.S. Did want to assassinate him. Anyway, so link to this. Oh, my pen is messing up. Link to this story in. We'll link to this story. I guess I'll have to fix my pen later. Yikes. We'll link to this story in the description. I fixed my pen. Wow. That's how great I am. Does anybody want me to hire them to fix their pen? No, not that pen. This pen. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Okay, so yeah, check out that link to Ralph Nader's story, and good read, another good read. All right, let's move on to the next story. So it's Sunday in the Philippines, and on Tuesday we'll be celebrating Chinese New Year here in the Philippines, or the Lunar New Year, and in Vietnam it's called Tet. They celebrate it also, and I'll put a link to two movies about the Vietnam War and the Tet Offensive. Or just the Vietnam War, but I'll put a link to two different movies. They're both free. They're both on YouTube. You can watch them. They are very informative. And I'll just tell you about the Tet Offensive, which will not spoil these two movies. I'll link to them in the description. We'll link to them in the description. What was the Tet Offensive? Well, during the Vietnam War, when America was at war with Vietnam, the communist North Vietnam did the Tet Offensive. So Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year, they launched an attack on many different cities in South Vietnam, which was the ally of the United States. And it was the turning point in the war. I don't know if it was the turning point in the war, but it was certainly a very important point in the war. It was very important. They actually broke into the U.S. embassy, and U.S. troops were outside the U.S. embassy, firing into the U.S. embassy at the enemy who was occupying the U.S. embassy. It was it was a big, one of the biggest battles. Well, I don't know biggest, but a very important event in the Vietnam War. And I bring it up because it's important to know that the United States is still in Iraq, still in Afghanistan, still helping Saudi Arabia commit genocide against Yemen. I don't know what's going to happen with Russia and Ukraine, but the United States, I mean, the Cold War is over. There's no more Soviet Union. There's no more communist threat. China's not a communist country. They make a lot of money. They're the second largest economy in the world. And for some reason, all these years later, 70 years later, America, Russia, and China are still not getting along. It's so strange. Of course, we're getting along. Of course, America and China are economically really getting along. But the American media and the American government are painting Russia and China as though there's some kind of force for evil and America's the force for good. I mean, this is not the MCU, okay? America is not the Avengers, and Russia and China are not Thanos or whatever. Okay, it's just so strange what they're doing. But hey, that's what's going on. So anyway, it's very important in these festivities. I know we want to celebrate. A lot of us want to celebrate Chinese New Year, the Lunar New Year. We should also never forget about the Tet Offensive during the Vietnam War. And so I think, we can move on now to the next and last story. So the last story. Wow, this is awesome. I was gonna go low tech because I do have this book on my shelf, and I have read it. I'm not lying. But I decided not to go low tech this time. We decided not to go low tech this time. This is a book I highly recommend. I have read it. It's called The Division of Light and Power by Dennis Kucinich. And true story about Dennis Kucinich. He was the mayor of Cleveland, Ohio, in a city in the United States. He started as a council member, a very young council member. And he also went on to run for president of the United States. He never won. But it was yes, I remember. It was no, wait, what was it? Yes, it was, well, first, go buy this book, go read it. It's about how he tries to fight corruption in the city of Cleveland, Ohio. There was a lot of corruption, a lot of organized crime, the mob, the mafia. He was even targeted for assassination. The police told him, you have to wear body armor when you go out in public because we think the mob, we believe the mob is we think the mob has targeted you. It's a terrific book to read. So please read the book. In fact, when Dennis Kucinich ran for president in 2004, he did not get the Democratic Party nomination. In part because, in part because he's personally pro-life. That means he thinks abortion should be illegal. But he would have been pro-choice as president. So he would have kept abortion legal. But a lot of people felt, no. You cannot be personally against abortion, but against the legalization of abortion, but as president be for the legalization of abortion. In fact, Michael Moore, another influential American, influential in politics, I actually heard Michael Moore. I'll tell this story. I was listening to Michael Moore speak in public, and someone had asked him, why don't you support Dennis Kucinich? Because he is the most liberal, he's the most progressive. And then Michael Moore said, he's pro-life. And then the person talking to Michael Moore said, no, he's personally pro-life, but as president, he will be pro-choice. And Michael Moore said, I don't think you can do that. So, but here's the interesting thing, is that Dennis Kucinich was the mayor of Cleveland, Ohio. And George W. Bush won re-election when he won the state of Ohio. And then John Kerry lost. So I hope I don't lose viewers, but if we went with Dennis Kucinich as the nominee, maybe we would have gotten Ohio, and maybe George W. Bush would only have been president for one term. Maybe. We'll never know, right? You know, that's one of those what ifs about history. But so we'll end with the book recommendation of the week, The Division of Light and Power by Dennis Kucinich. I think I'm going to do this every week. I'm going to recommend a book to everybody. So I love to read. And hey, please comment, and please tell me if there's anything you want me to cover, and also reach out to me to help out the victims of Odette, also known as Typhoon Odette. And yeah, I think that's it for this show. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully see you guys in a week. And maybe before next week, I'll drop another video about something else. We'll see. All right. Thank you very much for watching. That is the end of Americano Update. My name is Andres Chang. And hopefully I'll see you guys again in a week. Thank you very much. Bye.